We live.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, man. What's going on?
I'm good, man. Y'all looking good. Y'all just left from meeting with Bloomberg or something. I love it.
Shout out to everybody in the building right now. Welcome back. Market Mondays, we here.
For sure. First day of autumn.
This is the first day of the fall, right?
Yeah, fall.
Dang, for real?
Yeah.
Fall's here.
Summer went by quick.
Facts. So a lot to get into. Big week for Earn Your Leisure. We have blackout on Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Then on Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're doing something special. We're doing a live stream for the EYL episode, and it's going to be with Matt, MG, the mortgage guy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for home buying, how to purchase a home, how to buy your dream home, how to get jumbo mortgages, how to get regular mortgages, interest rate cut. What does that mean for you? Refinancing, you name it. We're gonna go through how to buy a home in 2024. So this is very important. If you're trying to buy a home, your first property, second property, investment property, whatever, and you need to know the landscape of the current climate. This is going to be real time. We're going to be live. So we're going to be answering questions in the chat, in the YouTube chat. So if you have questions, get in the YouTube chat. We'll be answering some questions. And we might have some more surprise bonuses. But yeah, definitely this is going to be a very important YouTube live. So that's Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have something special. We have a conversation that we did with Michael Vick about
the legendary.
Yeah, he has a documentary about black quarterbacks in the NFL. So we have a dope conversation with him about his journey, black quarterbacks, money, NIL deals, his mistakes, going bankrupt, coming back, $100 million deals, not guaranteed money, everything that you can think of. Bad decisions when it comes to financial advisors.
You gotta watch out. Yep.
Yeah, just football, finance, everything. So that's 11. So we got the whole week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday.
And you're here right now. And shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody that tuned into the legendary interview with 50 Cent.
Yes,
100,000 in a half day. I saw clips being made of clips. So
absolutely. Shout out to Act clipped up every good part.
Did he?
Oh yeah, Act was going. He did a 2-hour review. Shout out to Act.
Oh, what did he say?
I gotta tap in with the guys. It's a lot of people
around. See, I saw that. I saw him say that. Yeah, shout out. Yeah, man. It was a moment, man. So everybody that got to watch that live understands that moment, but everybody that got to see it, the feedback's been incredible. So shout out to everybody that tuned in. And if you didn't see it, go watch it.
Please go watch it. Lead into Thursday. Do you think a person should invest in a starter home first, or save up and get their dream home first and just knock it out the gate?
We're gonna be talking about both options, but I know Matt, his thing has always been multifamily first. That was his original strategy when we first started Earn Your Leisure. That was like the first episode that we did on real estate, was to buy a multifamily home in a decent neighborhood. So to answer your question, it would be house hacking. House hacking, which is not ideally your dream home right away. But for people that do want to, potentially have a dream home, we'll give you information on that as well. But I think most real estate experts have championed the house hacking strategy, which does not result in you buying a dream house right away.
I'd be interested to seeing what people think of when they envision their dream home. What does that look like in today's?
Great point. Yeah.
Right. Like, it used to be that adage of the white picket fence and the 2 kids. And it's like, I don't know if that's the dream anymore. Like, what is the new American dream when it comes to home ownership? It could look a lot
different. Getting it paid off as fast as possible.
Having it paid off right away probably be the dumb thing. But being able to afford something, at this point might be the dream. Like, I just want a house. So it's going to be a dope conversation either way.
I'm looking forward to it.
Ian, any announcements?
Yeah, if you want to get rich from the market, go to ianinvest.com, join redpanda.com. We had an amazing call last night for 2 hours. If you missed it, replays will be in Telegram, clipped up. Also, the presentation from InvestFest, the slides are in Telegram. So if you want to know what companies to invest in, when to buy, when to stay away, over 90 prices given every month. If I've made you money, please put yes in chat. Go to ianinvest.com and come join the stock club. And I got some special bonuses coming out in October. And that call we had yesterday.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yes.
Just wait for it.
And shout out to the media team for the new thumbnails and clips. LaRusso, thank you. LaRusso.
Thumbnails very important. Very important.
Very. Yeah.
Thumbnails are very important.
Very demure. Very Mr. Beastie. Got you. Thank you.
Folks, y'all know how this works, man. This is our disclaimer. Market Mondays. Do your own research. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. This is a message brought to you by the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure and the good brother Ian Dunlap, the master investor himself. Yes. Continue to do the research. And when you don't do the research, you can always do Red Panda or come over to EYLU. Shout out to everybody in there who was in our class on Thursday. We talked about some things. In fact, some of those things we talked about are going to be some of our topics today. So that's going to be dope, man. So do the research, share it when it's good, pass it on, and give credit if somebody asks where you got it from. Love is love.
Sure. So, all right. So let's start. I want to start with some education, being that we are doing a real estate workshop on Thursday, being that this is an investment show. I want to combine some information. So we talked about this before, but it's been a while. Most Americans, their liquid wealth, the majority of liquid wealth is in a retirement plan, 401k. So most of the time when you invest your 401k or your retirement funds, it's in the market. And it's in funds, index funds, most of the time. Sometimes they'll let you invest in individual stocks, but most of the time it's just like the S&P 500 or different variables, kind of similar. But there is a scenario that you can actually buy real estate with a retirement fund. So self-directed IRA, very important for anybody that is interested in actually using money that they saved over the course of time that they've invested in the market and that has grown in a tax advantage manner in a retirement account, and they want to actually roll that into real estate. You can do it. It is a process. You have to move the funds into a self-directed IRA. There's different self-directed IRA companies. You can Google them. And there are stipulations as far as what kind of real estate. It cannot be for personal use. You cannot live in it or a family member. It has to be an investment property. That's extremely important. And the revenue that you get from it has to go back into the IRA. Like, let's say you're renting it out. It has to go back. That rent has to go back into the IRA, or it's taxed as regular distributions would be if you take money from a retirement plan. And there's a few other different things to take into consideration. But like I said, that's something that's a financial topic on the investing side, but also real estate as well. And that's something, especially when you're getting older and you're looking to utilize your 401k or your IRA that you've accumulated. You might have, $500,000 in your retirement account. That gives you an option to, actually buy real estate as opposed to just having it in the market. So we will be talking about real estate in detail on Thursday, but I wanted to kind of add that caveat in early as a teachable lesson for anybody that's interested in making some moves with their retirement account.
So you can buy real estate, put it in your IRA, and take the dividends from that, and then buy stocks with it.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah. So as long as it stays inside the IRA. So yep. So the house would be owned in the IRA. It would be just like if you owned Vanguard Fund or QQQ inside your IRA. It would just be now the house on 10 Pine Street is part of your IRA portfolio. But like I said, you can't live in it. It can't be your primary residence. You have to use it as an investment property. But for people that want to diversify and want real estate in their retirement accounts. A lot of times you don't think that that's even possible, but it is possible. Of course, talk to an advisor, and make sure that you go about it the right way, because like I said, there are some steps that you have to take, but self-directed IRA definitely allows you to do that.
Yeah, and the revenue that comes from, obviously you said investment property, goes directly back into the IRA, not somebody's personal checking account.
If it goes into your personal checking account, you pay taxes.
Gotcha.
If it goes into the IRA, then you don't pay taxes on it.
Okay.
Have they closed that loophole where you can buy startups in the IRA because of Peter Thiel yet, or no? Because I mean, you're given a strategy basically how to build your own BlackRock and Vanguard. Like if you invest in the commercial real estate and reinvesting some of the dividends into the companies that rule the world, like that's an unshakable portfolio.
And you keep in mind, you get the appreciation of the house too, right? So it's also a tax strategy, because you're not paying taxes on the income that's coming in. You get the appreciation that is going to gain from the house. So if you buy the house from 300,000, then it grows to 600,000, and then you're actually, getting, let's say, $2,000 a month of income. Now you're getting $2,000 a month of income that you don't have to pay taxes on. The house is appreciating over the course of time, like most real estate would do if you buy it in a good area. So yeah, I mean, it definitely gives you flexibility as far as having that physical asset, as opposed to having every single thing in the stock market.
But the potential sale of the house, does that go inside as well?
If you roll it over into another home, I believe so. If you sell it, and then I think there's a certain amount of time that you have to roll it over. If you want to buy another property, you can do that. But if you sell it and you just don't do anything, then the funds, I believe, they have to go back into the IRA. It stays within IRA. So you have like an IRA, you have a brokerage account that will be set up, and like I said, it'll be like a money market. So the funds, if you sell and it goes back into the money market, then that's still within the IRA. But if you sell a house and then you just put the money into your personal bank account, then that's outside the realm of the IRA, and now that becomes taxable.
Then they're gonna come knocking.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a hell of a plan.
Yeah.
Yes. What time the class Thursday? Wait, hold on.
9 o'clock Thursday. Real estate. All
that's
things
brilliant.
real estate. We talk about stocks a lot, but real estate is important also. So yeah, there's different ways. There's different ways to buy a home.
The more you know.
For sure.
Yeah. The Warren Buffett move. I love it.
So okay. So let's talk about Microsoft. They've reportedly entered a 20-year deal to revive 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant by 2028 to supply 837 megawatts of power for its AI data centers. So, I mean, what does this mean for Microsoft, and what does this mean for the AI space in general?
For Microsoft, more life, more wins, more domination, to be very clear. A lot of people over the weekend were asking me, how do I take advantage of this? How do I play it? I've been telling you, Microsoft, BlackRock are two of the companies that run the world. But it takes a lot of power to run some of this. Also, it makes me think, what advancements does OpenAI have? With Microsoft owning 49% of it, that power is needed. I've been seeing some upgrades in ChatGPT over the last couple of weeks. So what does it mean? They're clearly going to be one of the most important players in AI, definitely top 3 in the space, and by them owning 49% of OpenAI. I know some analysts are saying that they're going to lose their lead, but I just don't see how. If OpenAI is the most valuable company in that space and they own half of it, I don't know how Microsoft can lose any value. So
they said that
it's a classic example of getting richer, and to invest in the best companies in the world, because they're eventually going to take the lead.
So there's 2 parts there. It's crazy because the title of my class was not the AI revolution, but it was actually the data center revolution. Yep. So it was interesting that this came out the next day, because the whole premise was, yes, we're talking about AI, but it has to live inside of somewhere. And
Absolutely.
So there's a few ways to invest inside of the space. Number one, obviously we know the chips, but the infrastructure is going to be equally, if not even more important. Where are you doing this at? Now, we talked about security. We talked about power. How do we make power more efficient? Well, we can see if we keep making data centers, we keep putting computers inside there, we keep putting NVIDIA GPUs inside there, we keep using Broadcom as connectivity. Somebody has to power this in a more efficient way. And so when you see a deal like this go through, literally the next day after we were talking about it, that tells you that the focus for their innovation is going to be inside these centers. And to find a way to make it more cost efficient, we have to find better forms of energy to make sure that when we have them in multiple cities, in multiple locations, and vast sizes, this is a way that we can guarantee it. It's a battle, right? And so if Microsoft is starting with that, then you wouldn't be surprised to see other companies now creating their data centers and figuring out more efficient ways to have energy inside of them. And so this is just the first, this is the beginning, right? And if we watch, and I referenced it last week when we watched what Sam Altman said to Oprah about him talking to the government, the first thing out of his mouth that he says when he's talking to the government is, how do we build more data centers? Like that should ring off an alarm in your head. It definitely did for me. And so seeing this move is not a surprise. Obviously, we know his relationship with them, having 49% ownership of OpenAI. It speaks to it. But it's the energy. It's energy, power. How are we going to do it? How are we going to stay ahead? How are we not going to fall behind to China? This is all part of it. More efficient energy, more data centers. We got to do more. That second part about Microsoft diminishing, a bit overstated.
Impossibly.
A bit overstated. Part of it was the fact that they're reliant inside of these data centers on NVIDIA. And when you look at AWS, when you look at Google, they're starting to say, okay, yes, we use it, but at some point we're going to develop our own. And if you start developing your own, then you can see from a cost standpoint, it's going to be more efficient. When that happens, who knows? Will it be in the next 5 years?
Smartphones.
Right. It's like how we saw with Apple. Like we don't want to be relying on one company. Let's create inside of our own house. And so that's part of the reason that the over reliance on NVIDIA for Azure. But NVIDIA owns 80% of the GPU space, bro. So I mean,
what are we talking about?
Who else do you rely on? I don't really. There's not really like a second competitor that could even come into that space in the next, I would say, minimum 5 years. And so I think a bit overstated. Plus, they haven't even calculated the full impact of what OpenAI is going to have on the company. This has only been what, a year, maybe 16 months. So we don't even understand the full capabilities of what that relationship is going to look like. Overstated at best.
And on the geopolitical front, there's another battle that not many people are talking about. When I saw they make this acquisition, they're thinking 10 years ahead. Quantum computing is the next race that we have to master. Everyone who's trying to catch up in the AI space, you're behind the 8 ball. It's too late. So you may get the scraps that are remaining, but the real power source that is going to be needed, which will take a lot more compute, is the quantum space. And I think NVIDIA will lead that. Microsoft's going to have their hand in that. So that's why I always tell everyone, like, I know you're looking for the 8th best company that could break out and be a leader, but the writing's on the wall. They have a great lion's share of the AI space. Quantum is the next big sector that everyone is going to chase, and we have to be China to it. Microsoft, BlackRock, NVIDIA are going to have a big share of that market as well.
Yeah, I think the next thing to watch over the next few quarters would be that operating margin, right? We talk about it. How much are they getting for every dollar spent?
Absolutely.
If we start to see those numbers come down, I know we spoke about NVIDIA being at 48%, Microsoft was somewhere in like the 32%. If we start to see those numbers come down into the 20s, into the teens, that would be a sign that, all right, this cost is more than we thought it would be. But it hasn't happened yet. So that would be an interesting indicator to watch.
I don't know. Everyone wants to know, we'll talk about Intel later, like who could take the lead. But if we can't get most roads fixed in America in time, I don't think we're going to see a whole bunch of data centers pop up in Oklahoma that is owned by Okta or whoever else that y'all think may take the lead. It's not going to happen.
What if AI starts building them? Like they figure out the technology to build the data center.
That would be incredible.
Be
Terminator 8 though.
Yeah.
Unplug the machine. My Lord. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the technology, we watched China build hospitals in 6 weeks?
Yeah, some of them just came crumbling down though.
This is true. But you learn.
You got to
It will
check
learn.
the change order. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, they put them shits up quick.
That's a fact.
So Palantir has recently joined the S&P 500, leading a significant surge in its stock price. What advantages does Palantir bring to the index, and what's the potential risk for investors considering this company?
Palantir is an incredibly controversial company. I think Peter is probably one of the smartest people in Silicon Valley ever. I think Alex is a great CEO. The downsides of it is the surveillance state, policing, immigration. That can be very tricky. But the upside is the innovation that it does bring. I know a lot of people have been asking about this, and I know they've had a tremendous run, but people act as if Palantir is Nvidia, and it's not. If it gets back down to $34 or $32, I would love to enter there. But I definitely believe like this is more of a principle-based investment. So like if you don't care about how the technology could be used to police us and police people and immigration concerns, have at it. But just ethically, it's kind of hard for me to put my all behind that company, being African American in this country. But I do think there's a lot of innovation there, and given the political landscape and as things heat up, the company definitely does have some value. But I think you have to make a moral decision on if you want to invest there or not. And to be very clear, every Fortune 500 company has some ills with it, especially once you get in the top 10. So you can make the argument for Apple and Nike and Tesla. They all have done some harm, but it's kind of hard to want to invest in this company, being a African American that was born in this country.
The moral investing. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Just performance wise, over the past month, it's been up 18%. On the last week, I would see since it was announced it's going to the S&P, it saw a jump. Year to date, it's up 127%, and over the last 2 years, it's up 400%. So we saw when it IPO'd, we saw it pull back in 2022, but since that point, again, up 400%. This is one of those things, man. And we had the opportunity in Davos to sit inside of Palantir's little headquarters that they had set up, heard some of the things that they're doing in terms of security. They were recently awarded a $100 million contract with the U.S. Army to streamline AI infrastructure capabilities. And so that contract, their system, the Maven Smart system, gives them access to the Army, the Air Force, Space Force, Navy, and the U.S. Marines. So under that deal, Palantir's platform would support AI battle space awareness, global integration, force management, logistics, joint fires, and targeting workflows. Sounds like a defense system that's gonna for the United States Army. And so if you think, obviously there's a moral side, but if you're talking about companies that you don't see going anywhere,
they'll be around for a long time.
If the United States government or the United States Armed Defense System is using them for all these areas, you can see that this is going to be a longevity play. And they're just getting started. They're just getting started. But yeah, there is that part of it. It started out as, hey, we're going to use this for counterterrorism. And you can obviously see it has grown into something much more than that.
Much more robust.
It starts there, and then it turns into a personal surveillance situation. And then we'll have a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. So everyone who keeps asking about Northrop Grumman and all, I'm like, I get you, but Palantir is eating that lunch when Anduril goes public. Going to eat a lot of lunch in that space. So, yeah, it's just a moral thing, but you can't argue with the returns, and you can't argue with Peter's insight as well. Him and Sam are very similar, that they invested in companies and played the background for a long time while they built the empire they wanted to deploy. And it's interesting enough that it's both based around software to be able to help governments and countries at scale.
Right. Yeah. How do you stop them from implementing the software in other countries? Or do you?
You don't. We're in a global market. As long as they serve our allies, they'll be fine. But what I'm seeing with Palantir, they're making a moat to have advanced weapon technology systems in play. And as long as we're weaponizing, no pun intended, our allies, they'll be great. Going back to that whale client philosophy that OpenAI is following, would you rather have, and I know people get on me about pricing, but would you rather have 7 or 8 clients that pay you $2 billion each, or would you rather have 30,000 clients that's paying you 15 million? Much better to get the whale. So if they only serve 4 or 5 governments and it's at 8 billion a pop, not a bad business model. Not a bad business model.
Yeah.
But question for everyone: are you going to invest in Palantir if you are black and or brown?
Black CEO.
Yes, shout to him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, great CEO too, by the way.
Yeah.
Real quick, you gotta
power fist.
Yeah, have to. Black Lives Matter.
So reports indicate 23andMe, they went public. I think it was like $10. Then they dropped to like 30 cents. And every one of the board members resigned in disagreements with the CEO. And then the CEO said that they're going to take the company back private again.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is a drastic drop off from $10 to under 50 cents.
34 cents right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In a short period of time, and then going public, trying to go back private. What's the future of this company?
When I first saw this on you guys' page, I was shocked. I mean, the performance of the stock has been horrendous, but when everyone stepped down, that signaled trouble. My first thought was, if you're going private, it's a lot easier to sell that data than if you're a publicly traded company. I don't know if there'll be the benefactor. The same way whenever there's a cyber attack and all of our data gets leaked or sold, allegedly. I wonder in the next few years, will they take this data with the advent of AI and have derivatives of that data that are sold off to other companies for other purposes? I'll keep it clean like that. So, but the stock has performed terribly. The shit worse than the NFT, worse than the meme stock. But I think the right thing has been done. But when the entire board steps down, we'll talk about the music industry later, about a bunch of people stepping down. That's never a good sign when people step down in mass like this. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is going to take the company in the right direction, or do you think it's misguided to go private?
The company has never made money. It has never been profitable since it IPO'd in 2020.
Yep.
Which is interesting. I think the idea was great. I think they're taking it private after everybody steps down. Obviously, red flag. I think what's going to happen is somebody's going to acquire this.
Mm-hmm.
I think from a biotech standpoint, from a genomic standpoint, somebody's going to look at the value of the data that they've already collected, having people take their DNA, send it in, and somebody's going to use that, all the data that they've collected already, and find benefit for it. So I think acquisition is the next step, which is, I mean, there's still going to be a buy out there, but for anybody that's invested in it, that this is tough. This is a tough fall from
$13 to 34 cents.
To 34 cents. Yeah.
That's ugly.
Super ugly. Yeah. And so the CEO's name is Anne Wojcicki. So
kudos to her.
Yeah, kudos to her. I mean, it was her idea. I know her sister recently passed. Her sister was the former CEO of YouTube. She passed recently. So there might be, personal situations going on, and maybe some focus was lost along the way. But yeah, this is a tragic fall.
Yeah, this space is promising, but between this and Theranos, if I was investing in this space, I would stay away for 10 years until you can find a viable way to do something with the data. And it's interesting that, like, with all the GLP-1 drugs, that no healthcare company took a stab at wanting to get that data. Not Lilly, not Novo, not United Healthcare. Like, no one wanted, because you would think that would be an easy acquisition target.
Well,
no one wanted to touch
it. Legally can't get the data. I'm pretty sure it's HIPAA laws against that. So it might not be as easy transferable legally to just give somebody's DNA. African
So
ancestry.
the CEO, if you want to send mine, though, you see me a little attachment file.
Oh, it's a data breach. Another one.
Sorry, we were hacked.
Sorry. They took over our computers.
African ancestry. You familiar with that company?
Yeah.
Give us the history on it.
Well, they're one of these companies, but they do it from African American standpoint, as far as like, so these companies, they do it like they'll do your families from West Africa, Germany, and they do like, you know, they just, it's more boring. But they were the ones, African ancestry, they went to like all of the different tribes in Africa and actually got DNA from them. So they pinpointed down to the tribe. So they're like, your family's from the Fulani tribe in northern Nigeria, or your family's from this tribe in Mali. So it's like a lot of times for Black people in America, Black people anywhere in Western Hemisphere, honestly, whether you're in America or Jamaica or Trinidad or Brazil or Colombia, you didn't start there unless you're a Native American, but I won't even get to that point. But for the most part, there was millions of Africans that was transported from Africa to the Caribbean, America, and South America. So that gives you some level of clarity, not only like the region that your ancient ancestors came from before they were shipped over to the Americas, but like specifically what tribe they belong to. So yeah, that's a little bit, but it's like specifically for like Black people in the diaspora. Because obviously everybody doesn't have that same curiosity, but if you are not familiar with exactly where you came from, then that's the one that's actually designed for like Black people in the diaspora.
The failed scientist and doctor in me wonders if that data will be sold to make targeted genetic-based weapons against us at some point.
When you say the data, you mean like the data from, because there's a bunch of companies that do it, right? So you mean like just in general, like the space?
Just in general, and not against one particular company.
Yeah,
because I'm in a great mood, but
it's
alarming. That could be true for any hospital that you go to. I mean, all the data is a swab, right? Of your, it's a saliva swab.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you, the hospitals have blood, they got urine, they got.
Yeah.
So I mean, if that, I'm with you, but if that's the case, then we're all screwed. And to go even further, I mean, if you have TSA, then they have your fingerprints, they have your retina, they have your retina information. So I mean, we live in a day and age now where, I mean, there is no privacy.
Yeah, privacy's been dead.
And everybody has your information. Like I said, I mean, if you've taken a drug test before, like you give it, like everybody's information is all over the place. So theoretically, that could be done at any level possible, right?
Yeah. If they come out with a lemon pepper swab, though, that's when you know the attack on.
Let's find all their DNA
for real
and biohack their DNA.
Interesting.
Maybe it's happened already.
Like what do we know?
Could be some guys. It's like Supercell, right? That's the premise of the show.
Yeah. Anything is possible.
Believe me, I believe you.
Yeah.
For sure. Nike. We spoke about Nike last week.
I feel so bad.
You know, my last words were maybe just get a new CEO.
Oh man, we spoke that into existence. I feel so bad to the CEO who got fired. My brother, I'm sorry that we played any part in that.
Nah,
I'm in my lover era, so I'm a lot more sensitive about these things now. My Lord, it happened too quickly. So but a change is needed.
The CEO was let go, and they have a new interim CEO. So is this a new era, new promising era into Nike?
I think anytime that you take accountability and right the wrongs, I think they waited a little bit too long to fire him before we made our commentary and that article came out. But it is a step in the right direction. Whenever a new CEO comes into power, I always want to know what's the 90-day plan and the first year plan for sure. That'll tell you everything that you need to know. They still need to address margins. They have ruined a lot of relationships with ambassadors. Profit margin is not as good. There's not a lot of innovation. People are tired of pandas and re-rock Jordans. What are you going to do? And the crazy part from an athletic standpoint, I'll ask you guys, I don't know who they can sign right now that would move a bunch of shoes right now.
They got her. She's playing in Indiana right now.
You think that's going to be enough?
It's an audience that they can use. It's a new audience. You can see
Absolutely.
you can see the attendance, and I'm speaking of Caitlin Clark. You can see the attendance numbers. You can see the impact, and y'all spoke about it on Blackout, but you can see it, and they got her. The problem is that's one demographic, and I'm not mad that he's going. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad that
he needed to be going. Like if stock dropped that much.
I don't know how. I mean, there's so much innovation in that space now. When you got Hoka's, you got Adidas, you got
New Balance,
Vans,
Crocs.
You got all these people in the space where you used to dominate, and the innovation's not there. After last week's show, I went upstairs and Danielle asked me how the show was, and I told her we spoke about Nike, and she was like, "Did you like speak it really?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm just." She's like, "Do you think it's over?" I said, "I just saw them make a tech trench coat," and I said, I said, a tech trench coat. I'm like, damn, they really are just trying to throw any ideas. And then obviously the next day he was gone. But it's going to be interesting to see. Elliot Hill is, if you look at his resume, I think he's had every position at the company.
Yeah, he's been in the company forever. His
resume is just ridiculous. But hopefully he brings new ideas, new innovation. I don't know if it's the athlete anymore. I'm not sure if it's the athlete. Like obviously you have Caitlin.
I agree.
You're losing LeBron. Kobe's line is still doing great. KD is doing great. You lost Kyrie.
Mistake.
Is it going to be the social? Is it like the Kai Cenat? Is that
That's
the route?
First thing I was thinking.
Go?
Yep.
Yeah, because even him on his stream, I thought it was interesting. I caught a clip. Asics had sent him a shoe, and he couldn't. He wanted to open the box, and then somebody behind the scenes was like, "Nah, you can't open the box. You can't put it on." And he was like, "Why?" It was like it's a competition. He thought to himself, like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "No, it's a competition in sports apparel, so you can't even show it." So that makes me think that they've been in his ear, and there's something
brewing. Has to deal with Nike.
I'm talking about like a shoe. You don't have a shoe yet.
Not a signature.
He signed a contract with Nike.
Yeah, as an endorsement, probably endorsement. I'm just saying, like they don't have he doesn't have a specific line yet. But that could happen.
But that's definitely gonna come.
Is that the wave though? It's like it starts with Cobb, but then it's an influx of other outside of sports, right? So like Travis is huge for them. He's under the Jordan brand. That's outside of sports. They missed on Kanye, but that's from music. Is it now from where's the new demographic, the new area that they're going to try to attack from innovation?
They better go get Taylor. Put them all American ones on her. Listen,
she had the Adidas, but she had an Adidas deal.
Yeah, like it's tough. Like I think when you messed up, and we talked about this the other day, opposed to criticizing, not creating. It's easier to criticize, but it doesn't move any revenue. I think they got too comfortable and thought that they could lose Virgil, lose Kanye, lose Kyrie, and it wouldn't have an impact. And these people have incredible fan bases. Like, mistake. Yeah. And now, even in the athleisure space, you got Lululemon. You have a bunch of competitors where 10 years ago, this wouldn't even been a thought. I never thought in my lifetime, our generation would say, quit selling us these shoes.
No,
that's insane to think about. But also it goes to the core. I don't see many fashion people that have a desire to work at Nike because from what I've read, they didn't even feel welcome at Nike anymore.
Yeah. And you see what Kai, look what Kai did. Like he's in China. He had a fashion show.
Yes.
Just an entire fashion show. You see James Harden with Adidas. He's in China spreading the brand. It's just, and even in football, you know, that dominates American culture. They don't have the best athlete like Adidas does.
No. Yeah.
Right? Like they have the guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, 22 years of service. I mean, obviously that's the big outside of Jordan. This is the biggest signing. Who's next?
Yeah.
Who's next to carry that torch for them?
Rashad, you're a fashion guy. What would you do if you was CEO of Nike? Or you got to wait till the call next week?
Yeah.
You don't got to give it here. It's cool. I ain't mad at you.
Call my phone.
Please.
No, I mean, you definitely got to think outside the box. So yeah, I think that's pretty obvious that they're gonna look at influencers. It would only make sense. I mean, you already did that with entertainers. Kanye West proved that's a success, and then you got Beyonce sneakers, you got Jay-Z sneakers, you got 50 Cent sneakers, G Unit. So I mean, that's been over 20 years that rappers have had sneaker deals. So if influencers, streamers are the new rappers and rock stars, then yeah, it would make sense. Outside of that, I mean, I think you gotta just go into different areas. It can't just be all apparel. Period. So gotta think outside the box. Gotta get more into tech, and just innovate more to not just be known as an apparel company.
When look at all the companies LVMH on: Christian Dior, Fendi, Bulgari, Givenchy, Celine, Fenty kicking y'all ass. Lululemon, Crocs. What?
Yeah.
This is what happens when you don't live the business.
That should have been the acquisition. Right. Once they saw, you remember that era with the Nike slides? Everybody you just wore Nike slides around. They were ahead of that. And then Adidas was in there, but they had the little spikes that kind of hurt your foot a little bit. And then obviously Ye came in with the slides, and now Crocs have just taken that thing over. But like that should have been the idea. Like, look, we need to acquire a company like that who's focusing on that. Like that's
hire the tastemakers. Like, what do we think them not having Kanye for a 10-year period cost them in market cap? Just that and Kyrie alone.
The Kanye one is hurtful.
The biggest.
Yeah. So you're kind of banking on Travis now. Like he moves needle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a
mistake, man.
It's a big difference.
Yep. I think that the biggest thing that everyone watching tonight, invest in businesses. And if you have a business, you have to be a person and a technician in the business that loves the core product. Once again, when I saw the C, I'm like, he don't look like he even want to wear Nike. He's not going home to his kids talking about like, how can we innovate and make the performance better of these shoes? He don't. Like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah. Where you showing up at?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see.
What can you do?
What can you do? Intel began the week with a critical board meeting and ended it with reports of Qualcomm approaching for a potential acquisition, along with $5 billion investment offer from Apollo. How do these developments alter the investment thesis for Intel, and should investors adjust their position based on this news?
Everyone knows I've been critical of Intel forever. I want to see what happens. I think Qualcomm would be a great target. Apollo, maybe I like Apollo, but maybe not so much. But I do want to see what happens here. Now, for the percentage gain that it had, it was just people front running the trade to see if it does get acquired, they're already positioned in. But if I would have heard a stronger company, I would be more bullish on this. But same in the Nike and 23, you need an entire revamping of that C-suite. I think you're just making a wrong product at the wrong time. And even if you get up to speed, it's going to take a few years, even with the money that's come from the White House. It's still going to take time to get up to fabricate everything that you need. So I don't think they'll ever be back in pole position. But if a stronger company got behind them, maybe. Going back to your point earlier, Troy, as people need to build their own chips, it'd be interesting to see which players come in and may partner with or look to acquire. If this was a Microsoft or an Apple or Oracle, I would be much more excited. Qualcomm isn't a bad target, but it's not enough for me to move the needle to then want to invest in Intel. And if we're going to be very honest, if we're looking at the chip space, data center space, anyone in the AI ecosystem, they're probably third or fourth to last. That's a great investment. Oracle's better, Nvidia is better, AMD is better, AVGO is better. Shit, Tesla's better.
Shout out to Tesla.
Yeah, it's ancillary companies that are just performing way better than them at the time when this is the hottest market on earth. You're flopping. So
it's interesting because if you look at the numbers, Intel's brings in more revenue than Qualcomm. The biggest, and they actually compete in some similar categories, PCs and laptop chips. The problem is this, and we can continue to say it. Intel is still working in the CPU model, the central processing unit. The rest of the space is working in the GPU market, which is the graphic processing unit, which is why NVIDIA leads, right? And so that's a drastic difference. If Qualcomm does figure out a way, and I'm sure the government will have something to say about that, acquire Intel, there's a company that's going to benefit. And that's the company that manufactures its chips for Qualcomm, and that company is Taiwan Semiconductor. Intel, to its credit, still manufactures its own chips, but they're just doing it for, like I said, for CPUs.
It's the wrong chips.
They're doing the wrong chips. And so they've missed out on the AI boom because they're making the wrong chips, right? It's obvious. Like, you're not making the right chip. This boom is based on GPUs. You're not making those. Qualcomm is making those. They have contracts with Apple. They have those contracts to use the chip. So they're in the race, right? They're actually in the race where you're not in it. It makes sense
at all
to try to figure out acquisition. But I think the beneficiary of it is TSM, right? Because Qualcomm's not saying we want to make our own. They're saying we want to acquire you, right? Because there is business there. You have infrastructure. At some point, will they look at the machinery and they'll look at the technology that Intel has and say, okay, maybe now, seeing what you have, we could potentially produce our own? That might happen.
That may happen.
That takes time.
It take a long time.
And until that time, you're gonna have to go with what you know works, and that's the company that we've been talking about for, at least 5 years. In TSM. So I think they're the beneficiary of it all if that acquisition does happen.
For the audience, to give you a comparison, Intel is selling you a car where you have to get up in the morning and crank it for a minute. Everybody else has push to start. They're just in the wrong business altogether. Like, no one even wants a CPU. It's not the target that you can sell. And once again, the profit margin is 3.1%. The hottest market on earth to invest in. They're taking 3% out of it.
So let me ask you this, as far as on the educational side. What are the most important indicators you analyze before buying a stock?
Number one, I talked about this at InvestFest. Had a ball. Thank you guys again. But number one, what competitive advantage does that company have that no one else can do? That's most important. No one can make the chips that NVIDIA can at this moment. If they could, they wouldn't have this lead. Number two, profit margin. So for every dollar that comes in, how much of it do they get to keep? Do you get to hire better employees? You get to have better research and development. Product line goes out faster. Number three, can they dominate that space for a 10-year period and not have many competitors? Now, when you look at Palantir, even though I may not from an ethical standpoint like it, over a 10 or 15-year period, there's not many people who can enter that space or acquire those contracts. And then number four, does a CEO or founder have amazing character while having capability to scale to dominate the globe in their space? Apple, even though I hate the new phone, Apple's founder, yes. The CEO after Steve, yes. Tesla has issues, but Starlink, no one can own all those satellites like Elon. The barrier to entry is incredibly cost intensive. OpenAI, another one. There's other AI platforms, but they are not better. The margins are not there, and they can't innovate as fast. So those are like the core things that I'm looking for. Like, what can you do that no one else can do? Like for me, I'm able to call the prices out on stocks to where I know for a retail investor, I can almost get you close to an institutional level. Most companies, Intel doesn't have a competitive advantage. You're selling a product that no one wants right now while having low profit margin. So when you take the emotion out of it and just say, okay, what can you do that no one else can do? The CEO or founder, do they have great work ethic, trust ethic? great principle while being able to scale and profit margin, you'll be okay. That'll take out 50% of companies that you even consider to invest in long term.
I wonder, because I agree with you. I think moat is important. Leadership is important. And I wonder at what point does price action, because it can be misleading, right? If somebody told you, hey, NVIDIA is down 15% over the past 3 months, it doesn't tell the full picture of actually what's happening. So at what point does price action come into the equation? Because most people will look at it, even a Palantir, what we just spoke about. If you look at it in 2020, when it IPO'd very high, right? It falls down in 2020. It's been up 400% since. But if you just hear it's been up 400%, you might say,
yeah,
wow. If you don't scale out and look at the full context and perspective of the company, you're not getting the full story. So does price action come into play as well?
It's one of the last things I even consider. It's one of the things that I've mastered. But if you buy the right house in the wrong neighborhood, the price, yeah, you can get some gain, but I think there's always a multiple number of variables that you need in order for a deal to go right. When things are not going well for Palantir, they didn't have those contracts on hand, and they didn't have the public favor from hedge funds and now retail traders demonized at one point. So when I go to the mathematical equation part of when to invest, those other things have to be checked off first. Like I have a probably like 15-step process that I go through before I want to invest in a company. Price is probably like the last consideration.
Yeah. McKinsey, reputable source for financial information, has Palantir as the 9th most important AI stock. Because of kind of what you just alluded to, it has 44 hedge funds that are investing in it. Yeah, and I don't like it ethically. I can argue 9th is too low. They're the only AI company that is involved in real global infrastructure. So if we do break out into a war with China, God forbid we don't, that war, like you go on YouTube and Instagram and see the drone fights that are happening, it's not going to be boots on ground. It's going to come down to data and intelligence. So to me, they may be 5th or 6th if we're looking at a long-term horizon. And one thing we know about this country is, as beautiful and amazing as it is, we're going to stay in war. We got to figure out a term bigger than they got, like a Pacific Ocean around their business model. You can't just pop up overnight and hop in ChatGPT and make that business model and make it work. So, yeah.
How do you assess whether a stock is undervalued or overvalued? Do you hear that those terms a lot? Like the stock is undervalued, overvalued. Like, what does that mean? And how do you actually make sense of that?
I think the easiest way to explain it is it not talked about enough, and is it too hyped? So NFTs were too overhyped at one point. Shout out to those of you who made money in them.
You see the Justin Bieber thing? He bought a Bored Ape yacht.
Oh yeah.
For 1.3 million, or 1.1 million, a few years ago, and now it's worth like $60,000 now.
Mistake. But shout out to Bieber.
So that would be overvalued.
Overvalued. So I think all the greatest investments on earth, and this is the conversation I had with LaRusso yesterday. Like, you're measuring the wrong metrics to determine if a brand is doing well. So like, if you're not focusing on the right KPIs, please write this down. Like, you have to focus on the right KPIs to know if an investment is solid. Take the emotion out of it. But if you look, when I'm looking at a company, I'm looking, can you have an impact on this world for a 10 to 20 year period? That is a generation. That takes 50% of companies out of that cycle. And as an investor, you have to have a very stoic and logical brain when it comes to it, because everyone had a lot of emotion around NFTs and a lot of the meme coins, but it's like, well, who was putting out the propaganda for you to do that? The best investments in the world are going to be very quiet until they ramp up and take off. As soon as he's like, hey, Sam with Oprah, I said, shit, that's the public stamp of approval right there. No one's getting that lead from them. I saw this happen in 94 and 96 with Bill Gates. No one got that lead from Microsoft, even when Ballmer dropped the ball for a fucking decade. No one got their lead. So, and also too, you can go to Guru Focus or joinredpanda.com, EY University. This show will tell you if it's undervalued or overvalued. I think more people need to listen for sure.
When they bring up and maybe this is like the homework assignment. Remember you used to throw out the homework assignments?
Yep.
Maybe this is the homework assignment because a lot of times people will hear the word, it's trading on its multiple, right? And I guess it would depend on the sector, right? Because technology have a different multiple than industrials and finances. Is there, let's throw out just technology, is there a multiple that would indicate overvalue, right? Is it 20 times X? So meaning that it's being percentage, is being multiplied 20 times its future guidance. Is there a number?
If it's 40 to 60 over, it's too rich for my blood.
Okay.
And my thing is if it's at that high of a multiple and no one can tell you why it's that valuable, with OpenAI, they can tell you right now why it's worth that. Just on a subscription on the retail side of the business, they're bringing in like $300 million a month just off the subscription base.
Right.
We haven't even got to the contracting side on the back end and B2B. Okay, great. But if you're telling me in 2021, a company in Nova Scotia is worth more than Apple, or we see companies rise in value in the meme coin space and it's worth more than Google, how? It makes no sense.
Yeah, so your multiple is the price times your earnings, right? How much you can make over a specific given time based on the future innovation of the company. So if anybody's confused with that,
What strategies do you use to manage risk when investing in volatile stocks?
Stop losses are key. I'll say this, please clip this up. If an asset falls negative 20%, you have to get out and look to get in at a better price. A lot of risk management really just is obeying your rules and your laws when it comes in. So like even if going back to the criticism conversation on the phone, it's like if you're not measuring the right thing and know when to cut things off, you're going to bleed to death. For me personally, I don't like for a stock to drop 35% or 40% in value while I'm holding it. That's why I often look to get in around 18% off the high down to 35%. Most people are buying $1 from the high and then like, well, it fell. You bought at the wrong price. So a lot of managing risk is buying at the right levels, B, cutting your losses when it's not going in your favor. And third, a lot of the risk is taken away if you buy good companies. That's the part no one wants. Like if you buy a tier 1 asset, invest in a tier 1 athlete that has great work ethic prior to you telling him to, everything's going to work out. That's why I think LeBron's value is so high and he gets put in that argument of greatest player of all time. The longevity matters. Tom's longevity matters. He's there, market mover, probably one of the most valuable players in the history of the league. Same with Apple. If Apple and Microsoft goes away, it changes the status of our country. I love Tesla. Tesla's not as reliable. Rivian, not as reliable. Like these are the metrics you need to look at, especially because we're going into our 5th year of Market Mondays. If you're new, I understand. But if you've been here for a while, invest in the companies that are literally changing the world, but have an impact on the GDP of the United States of America. Even last week when I put out the list, okay, great. If Kamala Harris wins as president and people are like, well, how do you know Visa and American Express? I can't tell you how I know, but I'm telling you, I know. Uber, incredibly important. Look what Dara has done. It's not talked about enough. That's probably one of the hardest turnaround stories in the last 30 years, to turn Uber around when they are operating on thin margins to eventually have wider gross margins. Visa, American Express, Microsoft, Nvidia. If those 5 companies go away, it lowers the GDP of our economy. You'll need a 50,000 point basis rate cut at that point. You'll need negative interest rates if those companies go away. So
this is and I asked this question because this was brought up. So that the 20% is for the stock in the futures market. Do you change that percentage? And I'm asking that because when I look at, sometimes if I'm looking at an options contract, 30% will be my stop loss. but I might extend it to 35 depending on the company, right? Just
depending on what the volatility of the asset is.
Exactly, because the volatilities in the futures market and the options market is a little bit different. So based on the stock, you might say 20% is the threshold for a stop loss. Do you change it when you go into the futures market? Obviously, I do it a little bit lower when it comes to options because of volatility and depending on the company. I'll give you an example. Like I said, TSM might be 35 or Micron, right? I had at 30. Once it hits the 30, all right, I got to find a new number. Is it the same for the futures market for you?
Futures is less. Because here's the difference, which is a great question. The option side, you have multiple days or multiple weeks for it to pan out. If you're day trading futures, you get to end of day. So if you have a 30% stop loss, you 3 losing trades in a day, game over. So big facts. Rashad, tell them you're dead. So for me, max is 10%.
Okay.
If you want to be really safe, 5% margin, but maximum you can do is 10%. And then you have to look that going back to the multiple. If I'm risking 10%, I want to try to get 100 or 1100%. It's all about the mathematical equation, return on those. If you're going for a shorter risk to reward, you can risk 10 and go for 50% return. But if you're holding out for a 30% loss, 3 losses and you're done. You burned through all your money.
I'm glad you distinguished that. I'm obviously not talking about the day trading insider options or scalping or swing trading. I'm talking about obviously in leaps, so that the time is also varying inside. But yeah, I'm glad you made that distinction. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thursday at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing a real estate mastermind workshop, webinar, whatever you want to call it, live stream on YouTube with MG the Mortgage Guy. Everything that you need to know about buying a home, first home, second home, dream home, investment property. If you're interested in buying real estate in 2024, 2025, don't miss it. We'll be answering questions live from the audience. So if you're in the live stream, that'll be beneficial. Thursday, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel. Dame Dash Jay-Z situation. So
continue.
Jay-Z's lawyer put out a few weeks ago. Dame Dash is trying to sell his 1/3 stake in Rockefeller Records. And Jay-Z's lawyer put out a few weeks ago that the masters are going to revert back to Jay-Z in 6 years due to a law. So obviously that was discouraging to people that was interested in buying it, probably.
Yep.
So then Dame Dash put a commentary out yesterday that I guess New York State had filed in his behalf because New York State wants him to actually get money because they're one of the creditors that he owes money to, and child support. So they said that that was a false narrative that they put out, and that was discouraging to potential investors, and that it doesn't actually revert back until year 2078 or something like that.
I think it was like 2098 or something crazy.
But then I heard another report that the actual filing for the trademark does state in 6 years that is going to revert back. So who knows? We still have to get further clarification on what exactly is going to happen with this. But what's the business lesson in this situation?
Dame, I love you dearly from the bottom of my heart. You're one of my biggest inspirations. I love your bravado and your brashness and how you do business. I think you are a big part of the reason why a lot of us want to be entrepreneurs. The biggest lesson for me, when you have a buyer take the deal. I've had the conversation with y'all plenty of times. Hey, if a certain number come in, you don't even got why my money? Hey, they want 13 million for your AI rights for 20 episodes. Why am I half? Great. 1 in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. A big mistake that people make is when a deal is about to close, well, what if I can get more? Now, even if it does, let's say it does revert back in 2078. Steve Stout's been on a tear. Hove hasn't said a word, but you'd rather have Hove's grace than Dame's. The asset's already tainted. Even if you do invest, and I've said it here publicly on the show, okay, great, we should buy it and just give it to Jay. Because you can't do anything with it. Mistake. I think the biggest business lesson is when you have a layup of a deal, even if it's not your ideal number, but it's more than what you had, walk away with the easy win. This applies to trading, to business, long-term investing. Sometimes the easy investment seems too simple, but you have delusions of grandeur for wanting to get double or 50% more. And it's like, if you don't get 50% more and you're still flat, what difference does it make? But what about for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a teachable moment for sure. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see exactly what the true truth is on this revert masters thing, because that's a lesson within itself. But yeah, sometimes in life you just gotta play it cool.
Dame, I love you dearly from the bottom of my heart. East Chicago, Indiana. You cool with Eddie? But if you gotta win, man, you gotta take it. You gotta take it. And then on the other side, to the people that may say Jay isn't playing fair, business is not fair. You gotta know what I think the biggest lesson we've learned in the last year is it's better to not have enemies in business.
I hate it.
So I told you this last night. It's not work. What is the positive return on having a bunch of enemies while you're actively trying to do business? It's a net negative.
Yeah, man. I hate it all. I hate it all. These are people that we've watched pretty much our whole lives, people that we looked up to when it came to business, people that, you know, we admired from afar and then got to know some of them personally. I just hate it, man. I hate that this is what's happening to a legacy that we still hold dear. I know, obviously, a different generation it means nothing to, but to our generation, it means something. To hear him and Sal go back and forth, to hear, you know, Jay's not saying nothing, but, you know, even Nikki talking about stuff. It's just like, yo, what are we doing? What are we doing? The more that this happens, it furthermore divides any opportunity of us actually at that level figuring out a way to work together. Shout out to everybody in Dallas that pulled up on us. Shout out to Rocky. But that was one of the things. It's like, at that level, why can't we figure out how to create something together? These type of conversations, obviously, it pushes that even further out the window. So, I mean, I feel like it's going to be up to us, man. To be honest with you, I feel like it's going to be up to us. This movement that we have right now, this financial revolution that's happening right now, to create that platform where it's like, we're going to show, we've learned the lessons, we've watched these people, we've learned the lessons from them, and we're going to lead the way on how to work together. I think that's what comes from this. But I hate it.
Would you put in a bid for it?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't want it. I don't. Yeah, I don't even be parts of it.
Yeah. Also, too, I know a lot of people will clap back a Dame and say make another hole, but it goes to another business lesson. It's not smart to make other people unless you have deals with them in perpetuity. Some of the, like, only in our community does loyalty get put over equity. Cool. And let's be real, there's not that many loyal people in the world.
That's real.
Got to choose wisely. A lot of people who want to get put on from the other side of it too, it's hard to put people on because most people aren't trustworthy. I hear some of y'all look crit. Why don't y'all reach out to such and such? For what? I done did this dance a bunch of times before. For them to switch up soon, they get a little bit of notoriety. It's like, you ain't even got to the money part yet. For $7,000, you acted like, ooh, thank God you revealed your hand that fast. Okay, cool. What do I know? What do I know?
Nasty.
We got to talking numbers one day for Spiritu Santo, but we won't. We won't.
Peace.
Rashad, I'm doing good or no?
Peace. Peace.
Peace and blessings.
And prosperity.
Yep.
Much success to you.
And I know he just can't flat out give the masters back, but if there's love there, you should have found a way to give some of it back to build a bridge to make the relationship good again.
Give what back? Who give back?
Dame get some back to Jay and like, hey, let's at least be cordial.
Why would you do that?
It's better than having him as an enemy.
But they already established as enemies. I don't know
White flag helps sometimes.
I mean, I think that's if you give back that masters, what else is left? But from that era, that's the only thing. Gave back now, you don't have anything.
If you look at the portfolio, like what's the asset that's left?
You don't have anything now if you made it a toxic asset.
It's just nasty.
He should have sold it to the boy up north.
Allegedly.
Chef up north. Before you could have got left up north.
Allegedly.
Jesus. You know, I hate to see this. It's like, damn, why do we go through this? It's tough, but it's ego.
Yeah,
I mean, these are icons.
I'll tell you what, it is a bad example that they're setting, and I'm cool with both. I'm cool with Steve Stout and Dame Dash. I don't know Nicki Minaj, don't know Jay-Z. Jay-Z hasn't really said anything, but Nicki Minaj, she bashes Jay about the Super Bowl. Then Steve Stout comes and he says some words about Nicki. Then she comes back and she goes crazy on him. Dame Dash is going crazy on Jay. Jay's lawyer tries to dilute the asset from Dame Dash. It's
why is it a bad precedent?
Oh, it's embarrassing, first and foremost, but also what Jay say made men ain't supposed to make statements.
Facts.
That's why I respect Jay. He don't speak.
Player. Yeah.
He don't speak. If he does have other hitmen, I mean, would not
that's
say,
the way you're supposed to do it.
My mobsters don't box. My pump shot obliges. So I'm not going to say now. The little homie, you might have to send somebody. That's a boss move
on your behalf. Pow you, and that's the warning that Steve giving. Chill out.
Yeah, I just felt like that's kind of the back and forth that's not on par. That's not on par with the level of. That's not like, you know, how you move if you're in that position.
No, yeah, that's what I said. It means something. Like we're watching it. Like we're watching y'all. Like we've always watched them. We're watching this, but it's a good lesson to learn. Like that's not a road we can go. We can't, like, no matter, that can't be the road.
And the same thing that Henchman told Tupac. You can't go to war if you don't have your money, right? You gotta be very careful. Like, I know people think business is sweet and it's boring. Business is the most aggressive form of war you'll ever see.
Fact.
Bill Gates sent a wreath and a casket
and you
to a competitor's office.
You gotta wait for somebody to be at a vulnerable position.
Yes.
And then you gotta, you know what I'm saying, hit them. You
gotta know when to attack.
That's the Amazon play.
Who we got left?
As far as what?
It's from that era of business and entrepreneurship. From that era that we grew up watching. Nas?
Jay and 50.
Jay and Nas.
Nas doing great.
You got a bunch of people still left.
From that era.
You got a bunch of people still left.
50, Jay, Nas.
Fabian Slim. You got Dr. Dre. You got Nas. You got Steve Stout. You got Jay-Z. I mean, you got a bunch of people still running around. Some speak more than others.
Right.
Some more quiet than others. But I mean, the bag is the bag. But yeah, the art of war. When it comes
art of war is real.
Shout out to 50. 50, he does it strategically though. He's not just doing it just because he's mad at somebody. Like 50, that's part of his day one blueprint, and he's honoring that blueprint. He's honored that blueprint. So I can't even be mad at 50 because 50 is doing it from an intelligence standpoint of that's him. Like, but a lot of other people try to follow that blueprint, and that's not them. They just going off of emotion, or they just mad in the moment.
Yeah.
And then they're going to end up
punching up at the wrong person or the wrong entities.
That was Canvas, right? He said the number one rule in the art of war: don't start a war.
Helps. Every thought should be, what is the net return on this?
Yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing?
What is the net return? It may feel good in the moment, but some people will plot 10, 12. Some people are like, no, people won't be mad that long. They don't have to be mad to get revenge. They may wait 12, 13 years, 14 years.
15 years later.
Great.
There you go.
Time goes by fast. It doesn't even feel like we've been doing the show 5 years. Right around the corner.
Fact.
Yeah, facts. And then we're like how we gonna talk about all these CEOs resigning. Because that's
spooky hours.
That's another conversation for another day.
Spooky hours.
He said the young boy named his new CEO. You saw it?
Who?
I'll text it to you. You can put it in the topics. Yeah.
Exxon
For a multitude of reasons, they're stepping down though. Yeah, but yeah, tune in to Blackout Wednesday. We're gonna talk about it.
They're stepping down for a few different reasons. Well,
yeah,
it is what it is. Charged to the game. Exxon Mobil. Is this a good time to buy Exxon Mobil stock?
I know because of the Microsoft deal, everyone wants to find a way to invest in energy. Exxon, of course, is a leader in the space, but I don't think on a pure return basis, you guys should be looking at a bunch of energy companies. Exxon has done great. Currently at 116. The high was 123, 133. You gotta wait. You gotta wait till at least a pullback of 110, 111 before I would even want to touch it for a few shares. So no, now is not the ideal time to buy. And homework assignment. Look per sector who gives the best returns decade over decade. They're like, okay, they went down to $30 in 2020. They're at 123. Not a bad multiple. If you compare it to Palantir, which I don't like, Nvidia, Microsoft, Eli Lilly, the returns are more robust in other sectors. And also, if you focus on the 3 or 4 sectors that really matter, you won't care about sector rotation. A lot of times people are sector rotating out of stuff because they were in the wrong sector to begin with. Just follow the winners and you'll be good. But out of the energy space, I do like them the most, for sure.
Yeah.
Investing's not that hard. And buy the top 3 sectors, buy the top 2 companies, rinse and repeat.
So here's a question here now, right? If we spoke about the AI, right, revolution, is oil the energy we should be looking at, or is it nuclear energy, which is more efficient and probably obviously going to cost? Are those the companies we should be looking at if we're talking about the future of energy?
I think nuclear is more important. Fusion is very important. One day on Blackout, we're going to talk about the oil industry, and then if it's made from fossil fuels, you don't think that we dug up all the dinosaur bones that we can to refine them to make oil? But it's above my pay grade.
It's a lot of fossils.
A lot of fossils, yo. But what do I know? This guy on YouTube that should have improved our thumbnails 3 years ago. The fuck are we talking about?
2 billion years ago.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think fusion will be the technology that matters a lot, and I think tech will invest a lot into nuclear as well.
I think so. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
There's a new ETF that utilizes artificial intelligence to emulate Warren Buffett's investment style. Is relying on AI to replicate the strategies of renowned investors a smart approach, or are there unseen risks for investors that should stay away from?
I'm gonna be real. There are some unseen dangers, but if you have us, why do you need? We was the AI before the AI came out. I know it seems sexy, but they're going to just end up putting you in the same ones that Vanguard owns. All of AI is not as revolutionary as Claude or Bard or OpenAI. So I think the most important thing that people forget about Buffett's investment philosophy is to hold for a 40-year period. Not saying that the picks don't matter, but length of time in the investment matters a lot more. Price in plus holding for a long period of time is really the key. It's not purely about the stocks in itself, because I wouldn't have invested in Coca-Cola the last 10 years, but he's had a multi-decade long position in them. So length of time matters more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the piece, right? Like you can invest in Occidental and hope for its potential growth, and obviously, I mean, not hope, but they've done their homework on it. But when you have Apple leading a portfolio for 25 years, 30 years, that
it's panned out pretty well.
I mean, that helps. That helps in it, right? Coca-Cola, Chevron, all these other companies, they're inside your portfolio.
Yeah.
You have to keep it, and ETFs make it even safer, right? You're not, investing in an individual company, but it has to be over a 5 to maybe 25-year period.
Yeah.
You see the type of returns that most people think that are going to come, right? Like Apple's not just going to jump 200% every year, right? It'll have ebbs and flows as well. But yeah, you got to keep it
Even with us, if you have it for 10 years, yeah, one of the best returns ever. Even going back to the war, because there's no money in war unless you sell the arms. But even for those who choose to be enemies, are you really going to be an enemy for 10 years, or you thought about this for 1 or 2 years? The other 8, hell is going to rain on you. It's not worth it. Everybody who said they were Apple killer, Microsoft killer, Cisco killer, Oracle killer, where are they at now? Dead. If your main aim is to take someone down, at best, the company goes away. At worst, they disrupt your family for several generations. Them Microsoft battles back in the day when Gates was there were real. He made some of them people move to a whole nother sector or space or country when he was done. It is more profitable to get along and be peaceful.
Yeah.
That's why you see Microsoft, OpenAI, everybody teaming up together.
That's what I was going to say, that the absolute best opportunity is that they say, you know what, you are valuable, we'll acquire you, and then in 5 years they'll change the CEO and you'll lose your job. But hey, you had a liquidation event. Congrats.
Yep.
Schlumberger. Yeah.
Want to do it again?
Schlumberger.
Yes.
Stock at one point was as hot as Nvidia, but that was a long time ago. So
yeah,
what's the deal?
Ain't nobody come to see you, Otis. No, I like Schlumberger for the time. Is there still value there? Yes, but I think what often happens is, like, men, you guys sometimes do this. You have a good girl and loser, and then you'll be like, okay, the next girl I get, I'm going to treat. Sometimes in life, when you miss an opportunity, it's just over. If you missed Nvidia, the best thing you can do is try and invest privately into Starlink, OpenAI, if you can find a way in, or find an amazing company that is not publicly traded yet. I think Schlumberger is an amazing company, but to compare it to Nvidia, I think is a misstep, especially if you compare profit margin. And that, I think the industrial era that was once dominant, even in oil and gas and energy, it's been refined, no pun intended, and a lot of the tech power players are going to eat up that space. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at some point if one of these tech companies disrupts oil and gas. Tesla tried to. It had a lot of pushback, but it's going to be like, we're almost halfway into a new decade. We're going to have a correction if they announce it in 2027. 2030 is right around the corner. The players from 1990 and early 2000s are not going to lead. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. And here's how you know, is what BlackRock determined, shout to BlackRock, which will have a dominant force that's a good indication, and what's in that Mag 7. They're telling you these are the most important companies in the world. Before it was FANG, then they reallocated that and made the Mag 7. They're telling you, and clear as day, here are the companies that are going to dominate. So is there value in Schlumberger? Yes. Is it close to Nvidia? I'm closer to a dinosaur than Schlumberger is to Nvidia. Don't ground up my fossil fuels and put me in a car, please.
Well, they're trying to stay alive. We got to give them credit for that. Last week, and I'm looking at the report that happened today, they announced a partnership with Amazon, so AWS for the digital platform for customers on AWS. But last week, they extended their partnership with NVIDIA to do what? And we talked about, it's the same theme that you're going to keep hearing up.
Yep.
To make better generative AI energy solutions. Keyword, energy for AI. How can we make this more efficient? It's the common theme. We're going to keep saying it. Don't say we didn't tell you. We're telling you right now.
Been told you.
The energy that is going to take to make sure that this works, we have to figure out, number one, how can we do it efficiently? It you know what it reminds me of is when we first started hearing about Bitcoin mining and how much energy it took, and then we have to figure out a better way to mine. Let's sound that same path of how can we make more efficient energy. So they're trying to stay alive, right? If you look at the chart, not very attractive, but partnerships with leaders in innovation, Amazon being one, NVIDIA being the other. they still have a value threshold. That was one of the, like we had a conversation last night about potential value.
Yeah.
Is there potential value in their services? Well, Nvidia says yes, and so does Amazon.
Yes. You guys quit digging in the bottom of the bucket for the leftovers and just grab what's best off top. A lot of y'all be bottom feeders in multiple ways. So, but what I know, I'm in my lover boy era. Yeah. Appreciate you. I don't know nothing.
Oh man.
I'm gonna do like Hov. I'm gonna just quit talking. Cool. All right, cool.
What's your thoughts on shorting Apple stock to a target of $200 over the next 60 days?
Mistake. Like, despite me not liking the performance and the innovation or lack thereof on the phone, you have to realize how many homework assignment. Let's get back to the basics, right? How many hedge funds are positive that Apple will go up over the next year? Now, if you're an amazing trader, maybe you can find a way, but I wouldn't short Apple down to get more than maybe a 5 or 6% gain because there's too much buying power. So like when you're investing in trading, what you're saying is when I think a stock is going to go down, my money is more important than every government, pension fund, and hedge fund on earth. And because of price action, I'm going to make it go a certain way. The predominant trend on Apple has been up probably since 1998-ish, definitely 2001. This is a trade I would not like to take. I think you're better off trading a asset with lower profit margin, like an Intel, to the downside, or getting an option or a future and shorting when we have opportunity, maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday to do so. But Apple, I think I wouldn't say that it's a company you should never short, but the probability of having a great return on it is very low. It's very low. Don't take all my little hate for the phone as slander against the company. They just need to make a trifold phone instead of a quadruple. Fellas, if your girl get the Huawei and you get caught up in 4K, how you gonna talk yourself out of it? It's gonna be tough. It was Chinese AI agents that, baby. It wasn't.
Palantir of all, I'm sure. I mean, let's just take the number. Let's throw the 200 number out on short. Yeah. Let's just take the 60-day number. 60 days from now brings you to what month? November, right?
Yeah, you crazy.
Historically, since 1950, the best month to trade stocks are April and November. Specifically, tech stocks, November. They've seen an average of a 2% growth in the month of November.
Yes.
So if you're trying to short something over 60 days when it's about to have historically, not just me, historically have its best month going into December, which we already know the fourth quarter is the end of the fourth quarter is a strong. I wouldn't suggest it. I wouldn't suggest
you're gonna have a bloodbath just like the other presidential candidate. Not gonna be good. Oh, and for journalistic integrity, I was wrong about the 50 basis point hike. I was wrong.
That did happen.
That did happen. I was so wrong.
And quadruple witching did happen, so we saw a slight pullback. Yeah,
that part of their call. I didn't see 50 basis points happening, but here we are.
How is that going to affect the stock market?
I mean, if they keep pricing them in how they planned, it's going to push stocks higher for sure. If money is cheaper, I don't think it's the best solution long term, but I'm not smart enough to have Powell's job. So, but I did say if that happens, how the election would pan out.
What'd you say?
Queen gonna win.
What 50 basis points? There's another.
Yeah. And if they hike again before November.
Yeah. So the next meeting isn't until after the election. I don't think they have a meeting in October scheduled. So I think the next one will be mid-November. And the expectation from all analysts, from what I'm hearing, is another 25 and then perhaps another 25. So another 50 by the end.
Which will lead to a Christmas rally for sure.
Which is another reason when we're talking about why you wouldn't short a company like
short in November. Hell no.
Yeah,
it may come early. Yeah, it may not be the third week in December, but We get a nice little boost in December. So those are 2 months I would not want to be looking to short, especially when hedge fund managers are bringing in clients in the fourth quarter. You are trying to avoid losses while bringing in new clients. No, I wouldn't do it. I would wait till February, if anything.
Yeah, and then think on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you got into some of those positions when we saw a pullback in early September, what those positions will look like
August.
By the time you get to November, by the time you get to December, you're going to start seeing some real substantial gains.
Absolutely. Just continue to hold. I know sometimes the best lessons that have the biggest impact are the simplest but hardest to follow. Just hold for the long term. You don't need to find more information. You really don't. I know people ask about gold and palladium and all this. Like, bro, Apple, Microsoft, Vanguard, BlackRock, Nvidia. If you down 20%, cut, rinse and repeat.
When the Fed lowers rates, there's other regional. So there's the federal bank. I think there's actually 2, and then I think there's 8 regional banks, and then so the banks. Okay. Banks borrow money from banks and they borrow money from banks. So it's the federal bank that lends money to the regional banks, which lends money.
Federal Reserve,
which lends money to the regional banks, which then in turn lends money to your local banks. So when they lower it, the money's cheaper. So it's cheaper to borrow money. And then that becomes a trickle down effect. And that's cheaper for the average American to buy a car. It's cheaper for the average American to buy a home. Credit card rates go down.
Yep.
So the idea is that stimulates the economy because money is cheaper. So now it's cheaper to borrow money. So now more people would be buying homes. More people would be buying cars. More people would be using credit cards. It's the whole thing, trickle down effect. If you do that for too long, then that can cause a problem because that can cause inflation.
Yeah.
And so that's the downside of it. So, but they cut rates when they want to stimulate the economy. They raise rates when they want to try to curb inflation. So cutting interest rates usually has people more optimistic about the economy, at least for the short term. And we'll see how that plays out with the market, but could potentially be good for investors. We'll see.
Yeah, because
the slight issue with it though, because everything you're saying is true, but the average consumer, that's why the CPI is important. When they go to the supermarket, those prices haven't come down,
and they're not going to bring them down. That's the honest truth.
So
remember, in 2020 it was the supply chain issues.
Right. So
that's been fixed. They have not adjusted prices.
Then that leads to price gouging. we could call that. So that we don't have an answer for that, because yes, rates can come down. Yes, if I'm in the market, great. If I want to buy a house, great. If I want to buy a car, great. If I can't afford my groceries, not so great.
Well, that's 2 different conversations. The price of groceries that's inflation that actually occurs over the course of time, where everything goes up. The shirt that I'm wearing today was probably 50% lower 10 years ago than it is today, and it's never going to come back down again, right? Like the price of an apple is never going to. It might have short-term dips, but it's never going to come back down drastically. Like that doesn't really change. That's all. Consumer goods go up like this. Consumer goods go up like this, just like everything else in the economy go up like that. But the idea is that the amount of money that you make goes up also over this course of time. So the amount of money that the average person made in 1970 is nowhere near the amount of money that the average person makes today. The problem is that when the consumer goods go up faster, then the income goes up.
Or the multiple,
Right. But like I said, that's 2 different conversations in the economic conversation, because that's always going to happen.
Yeah. I think
food, the price of food is always going to go up.
And I think people, because we get that question, I just walking around, people ask you that, well, the rates are going down, and then they're still trying to figure out, well, how come that hasn't come down? They don't have to work mutually exclusive to each other.
No, it's only on things that require you to borrow money.
Right.
It's like buying a home. Check out the class that we're going to do Thursday at 9:00 on YouTube. Buying a car, credit cards. These are things that require loans. So those are things that an interest rate cut would affect. But no, an interest rate cut is not going to affect the price of Balenciagas.
Yeah. Or daycare or
y'all shouldn't even be buying Balenciaga.
Why?
No, I'm just saying if you're worried about your groceries, you shouldn't be buying.
You shouldn't be buying it, period. But yeah.
Well, that's why I was.
You worry about groceries for sure.
Yeah, I'm referring it to the person that's wondering why, because people will get confused with it. They just hear rates getting cut, things are getting cut, and they get confused. So like this explanation, I'm sure is going to help people who will. Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
And they'll find another reason why prices haven't come down. But in 2020, it was supply, even the supply chain. That was some bullshit. Okay, cool. Because a year and a half later, you had excess supply before all these GPUs got made.
But that's why even when I heard Team Matt had posted something, like it was like even real estate. So interest rates go down, but the price of real estate usually goes up. So I was like,
Absolutely.
okay, if you're waiting to buy a home to have a lower interest rate, you might wait 2 years and that interest rate might drop. In the course of waiting 2 years, the interest rate dropped, but the price of home that you were waiting for is now up $250,000. So you saved a half a point on your interest, but now you have to pay $250,000 more to buy the home.
Yeah, now that 20% down looks a lot different.
Dramatically different.
Or the 3.5% very different. Yeah.
And the inventory you want may not even be there.
That's a good thing on refinancing. And when you have a loan, you can refinance an auto loan as well. You can take advantage of the price now, even if it's a high interest rate, and then refinance when the interest rate drops.
Yep.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is like the people that got their homes pandemic times, they're not refinancing anytime soon.
Oh no. They're not taking that.
When you had interest rates that were like 2.8, 2.9, 3, low 4s, they're like, no, we'll just sit here. we're good.
Yeah.
As the equity grows inside the value, if those home prices go up.
Yeah.
It's like, I think MG says that all the time. Like, when's a good time to buy? Right now.
Yeah, or buy the rate down.
And buy the rate down.
Or double your payments, or another career, side gig, other business, find a way to shovel money towards that principle.
Yeah, it was like, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. It's that theory.
Yeah.
That's not entirely true. You always want to buy assets at good prices. It's like stocks. You could lose money in stock market by buying stocks at an all-time high, and then it crashes. So yes, real estate usually goes up, but you still don't want to just pay $1 million over asking just cause.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. If you're in Miami, in certain areas, I mean, 90% of houses are sold over asking. 90%. So it's like in that theory, it's like just buy it, right? Because I mean, what else are you gonna do? Now that could work out for you because it could be like, all right, well, in 3 years it's still gonna go up, but eventually it's not. Eventually it's going to correct, and then when you get caught in that, that's how you actually lose. So that's why it's important just be fully educated, because those sayings are problematic.
Yeah, no, I think there's obviously different aspects, right? So like, no, you're not going to just buy anything. You're obviously going to do your education around it. You're not just throwing over, and people are throwing money over the asking price. You're going to do your time. The overall idea of it, like, okay, should I wait? Because like right now, people are in that scenario. Like we know people that are trying to buy homes, and you're thinking, damn, this price is now going up by 200,000, and I'm waiting. Yeah, the rate went down, but I can't. I can't. I thought I couldn't afford it then. I definitely can't afford it now.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, you still got to obviously do your homework, educate yourself, surround yourself with mentorship of people who've been through the space before. Even now, like I'm getting the education process firsthand.
Yeah.
I'm learning. Right.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a learning curve. You want to make the best decision, but it has to be number one, be educated decision first.
Yeah.
Okay. What about stocks like ELF Beauty and Celsius Holdings? They've had recent declines. Are these companies likely to keep dropping, or is this an opportunity to start investing?
The beauty space is incredibly important. I like ELF. If I can get it at $92, $91, somewhere in the area, I would love it. Homework assignment: if it goes to 92, what is that drop from that high of 213.75? Mathematical equation is key. So what percentage from the high is that if it gets down to 92? Please put it in chat. If I've made you money, please put us in chat. Let me get some pandas in chat. But I think once you realize what levels to buy at based on percentage-based drops, a lot of the fear goes away. I think at one point it may have been too overvalued. I mean, if it gets to 92, it may be undervalued, to go back to the segment for earlier. So Celsius, I do like as well. That price I will say for Stock Club, but the truth is, in this era, and we'll talk about it on Blackout, about some of these layoffs, but most of the companies and business plans that did incredibly well from 2015 through 2020 were because of a zero interest rate environment. It's a lot of these companies that are just correcting. I know some people want to be critical of the thoughts on influencer recession, but I told y'all certain brands and media would die, and they've died. Everybody was a rock star when interest rates were zero. Now that we've recalibrated, you're going to see a lot more carnage that happens, and then the cream will rise to the top. I think Celsius and both ELF are just have to recalibrate what they're doing, find a way to put out better products, how to innovate, and have higher profit margins. That's it. And especially when NVIDIA is up 700% in a few years and Palantir is up 400%, you don't want small gains out of a company that may not be doing as well. So be mindful. Also, if you're up 100, 200%, 400% on an investment, take profit. Stop being greedy.
Please.
Stop being greedy.
Please take profit.
I was in at 10 and then went up to 78, but it fell back down. I'm like, why didn't you get out? 500% is always a great place to take profit, even if you only take a quarter of it off the table.
Yeah, I'm the 100%. I had this theory where it was, if I buy contracts in evens, right? So if I buy 10, by the time I'm at 100%, I try to sell it off to the closest, whatever that number is, and have an odd number. That's how I know I took profit, right? So if I see my contracts are like 7 or they're 17, I know I've taken profit because I only trade in evens. So that was one way. I want to add something.
That could be even and still be an even. You buy 8, you sell 50. That's 4.
No. I said I sold to the closest 100. So if I might have.
You sell half. You mean, right?
Not half, just 100%. Whatever gets me to the 100%.
So when so if you get 100%, if you get 100%.
Let's take a perfect example. I'll give it to you right now. I had 20 NVIDIA contracts, right? I'm up 600% on it. When I saw what calculated to 100%, my initial investment, I'm selling that. Now that might have been 2, right? So that would only brought me to 18 contracts. But I'll say, all right, well, in order for me to know that I took profit, I'll make it an odd number of contracts. So I'll sell 3 off. So now I got 17 contracts. I know that I've taken my initial investment out. Everything else is just profit moving.
But
that's smart.
But also, I mean, you could just sell half of it. So if you
you could.
That's the easy way, right? Like, so like if you have 8 contracts and you have 100%, right?
Yeah, then I'm selling.
That means you doubled your money.
Right.
So if you sell half of your contracts, if you sell 4 contracts, that means that the money that you put in, you have.
That's easy.
Yeah.
But when I get up, so like and I showed my portfolio in class, I got some that are 700. I showed y'all one that was up 1,300. Then the numbers get like, all right, did I take profit here? Did I take profit? Yeah. Or what's the metric? Is it after I take 100? What's the next metric I'm going to take profit at? Or maybe it is like you just said, it's 500. And thank God if anybody gets to see 500%, great. Is it 1,000? Like how many? I mean, people get to those numbers. It's like I'm trying to keep track of it. And when you have like, I think I have like maybe 10 positions. The easiest way for me to look at it is like, all right, that's odd. I know I took my initial bet. This is all profit moving. Yeah, I was going to add to that conversation around Celsius and Elf. We've seen a pullback, even in Ulta Beauty.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of the competitive advantage as we start to see more people create beauty care brands. We spoke about Selena Gomez now in the billionaire status with her beauty care line. Is there a competitive advantage between one or the other, right? When you're talking about these businesses, because the next thing I would think is Sephora, which is owned by LVMH.
Mm-hmm.
What is there a moat inside that business? Because I think the business will keep going as more people in TikTok has helped a bunch. Social media has helped a bunch with the makeup industry and beauty care industry, not just for women but men as well. Is there a competitive advantage between one or the other?
I think Sephora has the strongest one just because they're backed by LVMH. Like I said, when everybody is looking, the back end of the parent company matters a hell of a lot. Still like Ulta, but I think in this era, having one or two competitive advantages isn't enough. And that's why at the top of the show, I said, what can you do that nobody else on earth can do? If you don't have a clear answer to that, there's too many competitors in that space for you. And that's why, as a result, Ulta has 11% profit margin. Still a great business. Celsius, you have Monster as a competitor. You got Starbucks, you got Dutch Bros, you have a whole bunch of energy competition for human performance there. So yeah, that's why for me, like when I'm looking at a company, can you do this and not many others in your space? Are they not able to do it? So that's a great point. That's a great point that you made about decaying moats or decaying leverage.
So we saw the baby put the cover art for his album. I think it's Tesla Cybertruck, and then Elon Musk kind of like reposted it. So how do you feel about influencers promoting brands like Tesla without formal endorsement deals?
I thought this was a great question. Thanks to the person who sent it in. And I think the conversation is, why do rappers do this? A desire for inclusion, but two, your brand score, Q score, is not high enough to mandate that you get a deal. So they're kind of doing a loss leader for free to be cool, to then hopefully at some point down the line get an endorsement deal elsewhere. I think it's a misuse of your brand power. I can't tell anyone what to do, but there's a reason why there's certain things I just won't promote because I know what my value is. So I think that a lot of times we may want inclusion, and of course, being retweeted by Elon, a lot of value after he got canceled. But if I look at the development of OnlyFans and how much that person's made, Sheen, how much they've made, Fashion Nova, how much they've made, even if you go to the music side, TuneCore, a lot of independent artists were talking about that, and then all of a sudden, when evaluations come in, none of the artists get that. I think it's a mistake to just attach your brand to something for a look. So send a wire in, send a deposit in. Equity and perpetuity.
Yeah, I just saw the cover. And then Meek has his new single is called Cybertruck. Same thing.
Listen, there's some talented racists out there. I ain't gonna hold you. If y'all want to promote the brand for free and all you want is a look, I think I'm good looking already. I don't need a good look. Send a wire. But if y'all gonna do it for free, I'm not mad at Elon for getting that shit off. I ain't even gonna hold you. If y'all crazy enough to promote, even we'll talk about it on Blackout one day, not this week. Even if fentanyl, a lot of y'all leaning into that bag. Who paying y'all to do that?
The Fenty wave?
Just go look at a graph in comparison to 2021 about the rappers who didn't talk about it versus who will talk about it now.
Dangerous drug.
I don't believe in coincidence.
Only God answering.
Is it a good product? I haven't. Have y'all driven in the Cybertruck or driven it yet? I haven't.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Is that? You driven it?
Sorry.
I haven't. I have not. But all right.
Well, vouch for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, another Market Mondays under the table. Done.
Yeah. Mike Amiri, another one. You see Zuckerberg had on the Mike Amiri thing and shouted him out at the conference. I said, dog.
Yo, Zuck
y'all ran up a bag for Mike.
Well, they talk about these watches. Like they did a thing with the what was that watch that everybody used to talk about a few years ago?
The what?
Watch.
Audemars?
No,
Richard Mille?
no. It's like it's just dropped off the face of the earth now. Frank Mueller.
Oh.
Frank Mueller watch. They just made it out of nowhere and they spiked the prices up, and then Richard Mille, same thing. Probably that's gonna be like a NFT in 5 years. It's not gonna be worth what it's worth now.
My rest say Chappelle,
Bold prediction, but I'm not mad at you. Yep.
Yeah, there's a great story about AP and Jay-Z. It's about how they literally he targeted him to say he's the guy that needs to promote this brand to this culture, and then you hear him say it.
Well, he got paid and got equity.
Yeah, he was already collecting the watches prior to it, and so it kind of makes sense with the deal. But then he says it, then Beyonce starts talking about it, and then now, I mean, AP is obviously what it is now.
50 Cent vitamin water deal. He talked about how he purchased stock options from employees. First time I heard him talk about that aspect. We knew he had equity, but didn't know that he acquired extra equity by acquiring the employee stock options. So
not a bad idea.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Like the hustlers are gonna get to it, man. Like you have to find ways to innovate. And that was what, in 07, 08? Like he was way ahead of the curve. Oof. That's why when people get to making excuses, I'm like, go find a way. Easy to critique, hard to drive revenue.
I wonder what they sold it for. You think they sold it for the low? Probably not even understanding what the shit.
Oh yeah, you had no clue. I had no clue. Yeah. But there's always the arbitrage and knowledge versus not knowing. You pay a lot for not knowing because you felt like you were getting over on him. Great. Let me have that. Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll take them all. Let's have a meeting.
Yeah.
Remember, check that.
Let's have a meeting.
Who's willing to sell?
Check the 50 Cent episode out now.
Amazing interview.
Appreciate it.
Love, bro.
High level conversation interview with D1 out now.
Yeah.
Fire. Yeah. That's a fire one.
Thoughts on reaction from last week's blackout?
Y'all leave Gotti alone, man. That's a Gotti. I mean, I want to say clearly, I don't endorse none of the nasty shit. So for those of you like, hey, you guys are taking up for abusers, that's never been my stance at all. Like I think I was been pretty clear on that. No, Johnson & Johnson's not a good stock to invest in, regardless of 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Even though that's cap. It's like, damn, y'all just gonna flat out lie? Bro. Okay. But yeah, there's so many layers to that too, man. Like I don't even want to get into that. But thank y'all for tuning in to Blackout. I do well,
Yes, thank you.
And the show Blackout is designed to be an opinion-based show. It's not financially topics all the time. So a lot of people that might tune in might have been surprised as far as Blackout, but that's why it's called Blackout.
Yeah.
So if you're new to Blackout, welcome. But every week we talk about a variety of different topics on Blackout that are relevant to pop culture and society.
A lot of great business lessons too if you listen. Number one, I think to take from last week is not to make enemies. Also, too, if you go back and listen to the interview, and I'm not the biggest fan of him per se, but I keep telling everyone there's no such thing as freedom. As soon as he got to the part about equity and trying to free us, they jammed him up. That's true. That's true. Y'all can clip it up all y'all want to and hate. I can't believe they talked to him. He was talking some shit in that interview.
No, that's a fact.
Yeah.
And it cost him.
That was a pivotal moment in the whole story.
Yeah. Once you start making them feel a little uncomfortable.
Come on, man. You got to know who you can defend, who you can't. And then also the media game. Like if you go study Edward Bernays and man, I can ruin you before even the 1,000 bottles thing. Like, what's the crime in that? But if I defame your name before you get to court, I'll make sure you don't have a fair jury nowhere in the world.
Yeah.
There's levels to this shit, yo.
It was a tool used in the alleged a part of the crime, allegedly.
If you try to get off the new rule massage, Johnson & Johnson ain't the shit to be. That boy would have had cancer with them 1,000 bottles. Allegedly.
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 It's unfortunate.
Talk about it, yo.
Host again, just
Yeah.
Very unfortunate situation, but we must protect women at all costs.
100%.
Y'all can be nasty in person, yo.
Domestic violence is never okay. Coercion by any circumstances is never okay. Drugs is problematic in society.
Let it go.
Just say no by any means, but just be careful. There's a lot of powerful men that have crumbled because of they've abused their power specifically when it comes to women. So that's never okay. So but the people that's watching, anybody that's on the come up, just understand when you get a certain level of money, when you get a certain level of recognition, certain level of power, there's certain access that comes with that. So you got to be intelligent enough to navigate that and keep a strong moral compass. Because if you lose that, then eventually it's going to catch up to you. Eventually, it might take a long time, might take a short time, but everything what goes around comes around. So you can't run. If you do dirt, you're going to get dirt done to you eventually. So just be mindful of that and learn from other people's downfalls. Don't just rejoice and find humiliation as a form of entertainment. Learn from it, because the same downfall that one person can fall victim to, another person can fall victim to, and that other person could be you. So learn from that mistake and pray that you don't fall victim to that, and keep a level head and stay sober. Because a lot of people, you don't fall into situations just at one time. It happens over the course of time. It's like drugs. Like most of the time, you start with a gateway drug, and you start another drug, then it's 3 days out the week, and then before you know, you're just a full-fledged drug addict, right? But you usually don't start at that point, and you don't even realize that you are. It's hard to even realize that you're that far in until you're already gone, right? So a lot of time when you start to lose yourself, you don't realize that you're losing yourself until you're already lost. So be mindful of the situation. And yes, domestic violence and any form of acts of violence towards women can never be tolerated.
Sexual misconduct,
for sure, can never be tolerated.
Right.
And unfortunately, this is something that's been going on since the beginning of time, as far as women getting taken advantage of. So hopefully one day as a society we'll be more civilized enough to not mistreat women. But until then, be very mindful how you raise your daughters and
your sons.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. We need to get back to community ass whoopings too.
It's important.
Community
right?
We do. You violate, you get violated. It affects a lot of this shit happens because don't nobody get hit in the mouth no more.
Well, that's because sometimes you're around a lot of enablers. So even when you're talking about certain conduct, specific drug use, and there's nobody to have a checks and balances on it, then it can run amok. So that's important too. I mean, look at the people around you. If everybody's telling you yes, you're in the wrong room. But it's tough.
Y'all need to quit deleting all your tweets too and saying that you got hacked.
Nah, chill.
Shout out to the king of R&B.
And if all y'all catch Bahrain or some shit, hey, ain't no music conference. Jack the Rapper ain't in Bahrain.
Jack the Rapper. Shout out to Atlanta.
Losing a lot of legends. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy times that we in. But
protect our women.
With honor and integrity.
That's it. If you move with the honor and integrity, I like what you said about moral compass. If you have a stern moral compass, the history of your lifespan will speak for itself. And so it's tough when it doesn't speak for itself. When you come into situations that are unfortunate, who will stand with you?
Yeah.
Versus who are the people that couldn't wait to stand against you. So you got to be mindful of all that.
And how you do one thing is how you do everything. There's a reason
Facts.
for a certain level of discipline. If you lose discipline in one part of your life, then you lose discipline in every part of your life. That's why it's like me personally, I don't just eat anything. I'm pescatarian. I don't use drugs. I don't just because I understand once you start to just do one thing and that's like I'm gonna just chill out for this one aspect of my life. Well, it becomes a virus. And now before you know it, you start sleeping in late, you gain 50 pounds, you're a drug addict, you alcoholic, you just and so just be mindful of that. Discipline
matters.
Extremely underrated when it comes to success. Like the people you have high levels of discipline. Like when you look at, a lot of corporate CEOs and athletes, you see they have high levels of discipline. Waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You don't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but if you can do that, then it's certain patterns that you follow. If you can run 2 miles a day, if you can refrain from eating just all day long, right? If you can eat 1 meal a day, like these are disciplined things that if how you do one thing is how you do everything. So be mindful of that, because once you start to vary in the world of gluttony, so one of the 7 deadly sins is gluttony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the food that you eat.
Yeah.
Don't be a glutton.
Don't be a glutton. We'll talk on Blackout too. If Puff the real Shug, who the real Puff?
And
it's layers.
Allegedly. Everybody, and I will say this, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. So let's let the court play out. I don't think that, social media court gestures help in this situation, because you're doing it to help said victim. You're just doing it for your own personal engagement and your own personal amusement. Like you're not really trying to help somebody. So I just feel like, a lot of the things that happen on social media is just kind of corny, because it's just done for clout, really, your own personal clout. You're not trying to actually, move the ball forward and help anybody in this situation. You just want, and that's a hell of a way to kind of just build your platform, or just to gain clout off of somebody else's trauma. If you really think about it, like, people laugh about it, but if this stuff is true, then there's a lot of people that actually have a lot of trauma. So why would you want to make light of that or fun of that or build your platform off of that memes? Like, it says a lot about the times that we're in, but it's also something that I think these outlets have to be held accountable for as well. Like, I see outlets that are posting 10 posts a day about this story, and it's like I said, it's nothing positive, it's nothing educational, it's not groundbreaking information. It's just for engagement and likes. That's it.
Cloud, another metric that doesn't matter, that a lot of y'all be measuring.
The cloud economy.
Yep.
Who does that matter?
More work than the meme coins.
Is that just like what community does it matter to? Cloud.
It matters to every community, but
it's infiltrated every community now.
Are we over indexing it though?
I mean, of course, we over indexing everything. So Black people definitely are junkies. Yeah. We are junkies. It's like we addicted to the nonsense. So and, the biggest platforms in our culture are dedicated to nonsense. That's a fact.
By design. Oh, and after all these executives step down, I want to be real clear. There's going to be a lot of arbitrage in the music business. I would talk about it on Blackout, but this will be like the part of the decline and death of rap and R&B music forever. COINTELPRO did their job.
Okay.
Y'all go argue with Daniel. Spotify. Y'all go argue with him.
And then for all of the people that's going to say, well, white people have TMZ. TMZ's not bigger than Fox. Now, you could say Fox is a junk news channel too, but at least they're talking about political topics. They're not bigger than ABC. They're not bigger than MSNBC. They're not even bigger than CNBC probably. So yeah, white people have the same, but they have way more balance.
You're saying TMZ has a network? Well, TMZ is partnered with Fox.
They have way more balance.
Yeah.
The biggest platform in Black culture.
Shade Room?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it says, just think about it. Shout out to Angie and Shade Room, but where's the balance? Where is the balance?
And then we want balance.
I don't know.
I'll argue that.
What part of it, what percentage of it do people look as entertainment, and what percentage look at it as that's real life?
It becomes it's blurred lines.
It's like, right?
You can't look at something 24 hours a day and say it's just entertainment. It's not like you can't listen to rap music. You can't listen to drill music every single day for 10 hours a day and not have it affect you. That becomes your life.
I know. I know what you're saying. I'm saying, like, we grew up in an era. I probably listen to music every single day. I understand that that's entertainment.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I could watch. I understand it's entertainment. Different now. Obviously, social media has intensified that, and kids are looking at their phones all the time. But what are the pockets of the population that are just seen as that, and looking at, and versus the population that's saying, like, no, this is real life.
So this is my thing with somebody said in the comments before, like, well, we can chew gum. Because I wrote a post about this actually. And I said, this is the exact post while we're on the topic. And the post was Elon Musk controls 70% of the satellites in Earth's orbit, which totals 7,000. He also has FDA approved technology to implant chips in human brains. Meanwhile, we're caught up in debating Shannon Sharp's IG Live, Super Bowl halftime show, and clubhouse drama. Your entertainment is your poison. And somebody said, well, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. Well, no, I mean, that's essentially what you're saying. But the problem with that is that, no, you really can't. Well, no, you really can't. If the average net worth for a Black person is $4,000, and we own 1% of the wealth in America, and we in the same position financially that we were when we came out of chattel slavery. No, you really can't. So in order to have drastic changes, you have to change things drastically.
Right.
So the idea of like, no, it's just entertainment. No, it's obviously having a negative effect, because we don't even have strong institutions. So you got to over-index. Like, in order to overcome extraordinary obstacles, you have to over-index on things, right? This is why the Chinese is so disciplined. They understand, like, they got to over-index on medicine, technology. The Jewish population, they had to over-index on entrepreneurship and business, right? They had to be extreme in their working together, and extreme and see how it's worked out for them. So the idea of, no, let's have balance.
Yeah, I'm not even asking for that.
But I'm just saying, that idea is not. The entertainment is done by design, and there is no balance between the average person. Can't separate the entertainment from. I notice it's just because even if you're not going outside and killing somebody, you still are lowering your brain frequency, and that's stopping you from being as productive as you possibly can be. You listen to music for certain long, you actually develop speech impediment. That's been scientifically proven, because this is the way that the communication that you're listening to, you're watching, you're reading is so low frequency that it's actually making you dumber.
So here's the thing, right? Fair. Would you say that you were able to separate the two?
Well, I'll say this.
Yes or no? Because I'm
separate what two?
Entertainment from, right? Like, you understood that this was entertainment, and you didn't pursue a career in any of those things, or you didn't a rap career. You didn't do that, but you were able to function highly at something else and understand that this entertainment, this is what this is used for. This is this platform for. How can I use it to my advantage? I would argue yes, right? And I would argue Ian, would you say yes as well?
Well, you didn't let me answer it.
I'm not saying I would argue yes, but I want to just finish the point, but I'm gonna let you answer it, because I would say that me, yes, And I would say anybody that's watching this right now, right? They could have chosen a multitude of things to be watching. Over 100,000 people every week are doing it. They could have been watching Monday Night Football or The Bachelor. They're choosing to watch something that's different. So are the wheels aren't moving as fast enough for the masses. Is it happening? I would say it's happening not as fast as we wanted to, but I'll let you answer it, and then I'll go back to it.
Yeah, we preach to the choir of people that actually watch Market Mondays because these are intelligent people. But if 5,000 people watch Market Mondays live, and there's a sports show, it's going to be 80,000 people that watch that.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, that puts it in perspective. And then there's always going to be outliers in society. So of course, there's going to be a few people that can navigate through cracks and figure out how to still listen to certain music and then still have enough discipline. But when I'm not speaking to myself individually, because I'm an outlier.
Yeah,
we're all outliers. I'm speaking to the masses. I'm speaking to my peers, people that I've seen firsthand that they were not able to overcome that and still stuck in trying to figure it out. And you can see how that's had a negative effect on their life. And then you can see the average person. I'm speaking for the average person. Of course, there's never when you have. They know that there's going to be certain people that's going to be intelligent enough to overcome obstacles. The idea is not to kill every single person. If you can eliminate 90%, that's good enough, right? That's the idea of when you do like mass things like in any sort. It's you never, it's never to try to eliminate 100%. Yeah. That's impossible.
So the mass indoctrination is a valid point. I'm saying that works until you change the doctrine.
Well, that's the whole point. But the doctrine doesn't change until the people change for themselves.
Well,
leadership comes by direct force of the people. The people championed us. We could have put out messages if nobody cared about it. So I'm saying the people have to want better. Before you see it, you're not going to see it change until the people demand a change. This is why this is where revolutions happen, right? If you look at any revolution, the French Revolution or the Arab Spring, or in anywhere in between it, that was started with the people.
Mm-hmm. So
the people had enough.
To that point, are we in a financial revolution?
No, it's not just good enough to be a financial revolution. We need a revolution, period, of the total culture.
True. I'm just asking for the financial part.
But then one can't exist without the other. Throw the culture away. That's what 19 Keys said. Throw the culture away. You got to throw the whole entire.
That's what I always ask. What culture? Well, we don't own the tenets and the principles that were placed upon us.
So you don't believe that there's a financial revolution that is taking place? Going places that you've been, traveling where you've gone, listening to the feedback or the impact of the people, and maybe not just from us, but from other people as well inside the space, the awareness, the education.
Awakening for sure.
I think there's been an uptick and an awakening, a revolution.
A revolution is different.
I think a lot of people may tap in to the information.
Yeah.
The ones who are executing, it's a small percent.
Okay. Awakening.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Definitely a strong awakening. But revolution.
Till more ownership would make it a revolution?
A revolution happens when you start to see structural changes. Like once again.
But that won't happen. Not in this country.
The French Revolution. It was a revolution because they overthrew a monarchy, burnt the people, and like they overthrew the kings and queens and changed the whole political system.
And I'm gonna be clear, we're not telling y'all to do that because
no.
They're gonna use all our Palantir shit to get rid of you.
It's not January 6th, but I'm just saying that's a revolution when you start to see a whole massive change. It happens one day at a time. It doesn't happen overnight.
All right. So are we in an AI revolution then?
We're in an AI takeover.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been proven. There hasn't been infrastructure. There's been the idea, the plan for it, right?
No. You see an AI when you can see AI integrated in almost every single.
We're in the beginning stages.
You can see it, but it
happened.
Well, it hasn't fully happened, right? We still don't know the outcome. We can predict where it's going, right? So, is this the awakening or is this the revolution?
No, this is the revolution.
Right now.
The revolution. I think we're in a beginning phase of day 1 or day 2 if we're looking at a long timeline.
Right.
But they already picked the winners.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's putting their position in. We don't know the outcomes yet because they don't really know the outcomes yet, right? Like even NVIDIA's, that was part of the report. It was, hey, we're spending this. What's going to be the return on it, right? Everybody can kind of see like, all right, we see where this is going to impact.
Yeah,
definitely impacting here. It's going to completely decimate that area. It hasn't. It will happen. All signs show that, but it hasn't happened yet. Is what I'm saying.
The first test is if they can at scale replace all the call centers in Salt Lake and Utah. Target one. I'm gonna call cap. They don't know the return on a capex, man. Okay.
You calling?
They doing the whole. They just gonna be quiet. I'm gonna send out my version of White Steve Stout, and we don't know yet.
I'll keep playing.
Black people only have allegiance to dead generals. That's a problem, and that's promoted by power structure. Meaning, we have no problem saluting people that's dead. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nipsey Hussle, Tupac, you name it. Whenever there's a black person that rises to prominence, look what happens to him while he's alive.
Yeah.
It doesn't end well. So that's why people adopt the model of...
I'm gonna be real. You've seen it happen with me and seen it happen with y'all.
No, for sure. So that's why it gets to the model of I'm gonna get what I can get out of this, and then I'm out. I'm out the game. Because the only thing that they're gonna do is crucify you.
Yep.
And you get crucified by your own people. You never get crucified by the enemy.
That's why I said Dave Stewart is so interesting, because you've never heard him talk.
Mm-hmm.
You rarely can find an interview on him, but he's just the second wealthiest black man in the history of America.
On purpose. Why would he talk? Only thing they're going to do is call him a sellout.
That's what I said. It's very interesting.
And look to turn on talking. Yep.
Look to see who his wife is, and look to see what high school he went to, and try to find ways to tear apart his character. And that's going to be done by black people.
Well,
most of them don't know.
That's why they don't know.
In the music industry, like I'm telling you, there are PR campaigns where people fall off and lose all their money, and that's to get your peace and privacy back. That's the real flex, to not be able to talk and still have the assets work for you in the deal flow.
He's doing it.
It's a negative return on talking for a
black person that majority people celebrate to this day. It's not Obama. It's not Kamala. It's not Farrakhan. It's not Jay-Z. It's not. You can just go down a name. Every single one of them. Oh, he sold the soul to Illuminati. He's a sellout. He works with. He's an informant. He's a.
There's a lot of informants, though.
What I'm saying is that
a lot. You know what I mean?
So if every single person has a strong opposition against them from the same people that they come from, their own tribe, and then when you die, you become a saint. You gotta die to become a saint. Once you die, everything is washed away. Now everybody's perfect when they die. They only have allegiance to dead generals. The problem with that is that how can you? What war has been won with a dead general leading it? So they have no problem. They have no problem propping up dead people because they understand that the dead people have no power. But what war in the history of the world has been won by a dead general?
Yeah.
If they can assassinate the living, if they can assassinate the characters of the living generals, then there's never a leader.
That's what. But this is true. This is true. That's why I said information will have the lead. Like that's the thing that just gets passed on. So like if the information is the leader, then it's tough to kill because you don't know who it gets passed to. That's why this is so important. But
yeah,
we can go on.
No, I agree. We got to just move in silence too. We can't beat the drum and let them know.
If it wasn't for these pictures, you wouldn't see me at all.
What do I know? Just a guy on YouTube. Thursday, we will have a real estate masterclass, how to buy real estate. If you're interested in buying a home, if you're interested in buying an investment property, if you're interested in anything with real estate, watch it live because we will be answering questions live. This is going to be real time, not pre-recorded. It's going to be live, 9 o'clock. MG, the mortgage guy, we're going to go through all things real estate. This is very, very important. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, blackout. We return. The return of blackout.
Yes. And I'm coming in spicy, I ain't gonna lie.
Sunday at 11 a.m., we got Michael Vick, the evolution of the black quarterback. Sunday at
Is that pause worthy?
That's definitely pause. You kidding?
Sriracha. and not regarding the puff stuff for those that are like, oh, what's the follow up? You know,
ain't no follow up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been real.
All right, y'all. Love is love. Happy birthday to everybody that has a birthday this week. And yeah, love is love, man. Go reach out to your people, tap in with your people, say what's up, spread some love, man. It's the EYL way.